everyone, welcome to this week's video, and finally, after God knows how long, I am doing a special effects tutorial. So for this I'm going to be using a hairdryer, a face cast and some NSP modelling clay in the soft and some sculpting tools. So I'm kicking this off by taking my modelling clay and I'm going to be warming it up with the hairdryer. If you don't have a face cast, don't worry too much, you could do it on a polystyrene head or you could just do it straight onto a table, but for best results to fit your face you might want to use a face cast. If you want to know how to use a face cast, I will leave a link in the description box down below so you can watch my tutorial on how to make a face cast. Did I say face cast too much in that sentence? Probably. Okay. So I'm going to be using the NSP modelling clay and I'm going to be placing this down on my eyebrow area and joining it to my nose, and I'm going to create this kind of folded over angry kind of face, and I'm going to be using my hairdryer and my tools to sculpt it and give it a nice smooth edge. I'm going to try and get it as flush to skin as possible just so it has a nicer prosthetic to skin transition as I can. Then I'm going to be working on the nose, so I'm creating this almost a bat nose shape, if you know what a bat nose looks like. Kind of like what I've created here, just a little more like pointed. A bat nose is, mine's more round, and I again have blended it into my skin, and then I've created an extended chin piece to connect to my lower lip. Now taking some ibuprofen alcohol, 99% alcohol, I'm going to be putting this on a brush. My brush does have a bit of foundation and that's why the brownie colour's been put onto my face cast. However, just putting some 99% alcohol on a brush and I'm just going over the whole of the prosthetic sculpt pieces just to kind of get rid of any unwanted prints, and it's also going to help smooth it down to skin and prosthetic. Then I'm going to powder it all down and then see where I need to go in and add some more detail and fix up any blemishes and things. Then I'm taking a sponge and using the rough side of the sponge, just a regular washing up sponge, I'm going to be using this pretty tough and rough onto the sculpt clay just to get some texture back into this. Try and put some deeper holes if you're going to use this method, because I'm going to be using latex to cast the pieces, and layering up latex will mean it will lose some detail, so try and just dig the holes in just a little bit to create some more texture. So taking that liquid latex on some of that same sponge, just ripping a bit off, and using the actual spongy side, I'm going to be stippling this over, doing 2 coats over the whole of every prosthetic and just around the prosthetic. Do 1 coat, let it dry, do another coat, so that's your 2 base coats done. You can use a hairdryer like I am here just to speed up that drying process. Then once you have done that, then take some more latex on a sponge and just go over the main prosthetic area. This will just create a nice transition from prosthetic to skin again. Just doing them base 2 layers will give it a nice strong first hold kind of bond layer, but just focusing it more on the actual prosthetics themselves and layering it up, and every time you add another layer, try and go 1 centimeter more in towards the center of the prosthetic piece, if that makes sense. As you can see, I'm putting less and less on towards, like it's all shrinking in towards the middle of the pieces bit by bit, if that kind of makes sense. Hopefully the video will show what I'm trying to say. And just keep layering it up using a hairdryer, and I did about 10 layers possibly to complete this. So when we peel this off, it will be really thin at the edges and thicker to the inner part of the prosthetic. This will also help it hold its shape if it's a bit thicker, that's why you want to do a couple layers. Once it's all completely dry, you want to get a big fluffy brush and some powder. I'm just using some translucent powder and setting all of that, and really make sure it's all covered, because we're using such thin pieces of latex you don't want it to stick to itself because it will ruin it. Then peeling up 1 tiny little edge and sticking the brush full of powder underneath that, and then slowly work your way around the whole prosthetic. The more time you take here, the better the final result will look, and just slowly work your way around each piece, such as the chin, the eyebrow and nose piece, making sure it is not sticking to itself and that it has a nice powdered down edge. Then I'm taking some scissors and just trimming it down to size, just because some of the latex would have went in my eyes if I had applied it like that, so I'm trimming it down so it will fit just right. To do this, I've just took some scissors and I've left it on my face cast just so I kind of know where to put it. Otherwise, place it up against your face and see which you need to trim, take it off your face and trim it down. Be careful not to take away too much, however, just use some tissue and latex if you have to fix it up when applying it. So I've primed my face using a primer, then I'm taking a bit of Vaseline over my brows just to protect my hairs because I'm going to be using latex over them. Then I'm taking a cotton bud with some liquid latex, and I'm going to be taking some tissue, and I have peeled the plies apart so it's even thinner than a regular tissue. Then I've stuffed the prosthetic pieces with a tiny bit of cotton wool just to keep it and make it hold its shape a little bit more. Then I'm going to begin applying it. So holding the piece up to where you want it to go, such as this nose piece, I'm then powdering around it just so I know where I need to apply the latex once I've removed the prosthetic. Remove it and you'll see an outline. I'm applying the latex on this area on the perimeter, and I did do it all over. However, I knew that some of the prosthetic wouldn't touch the centre of my nose, so don't worry too much about that if you do. So I'm applying it all around, and before it's dry, being I'm using such light prosthetic pieces, I don't really need to apply latex onto the back of the prosthetic piece, so I'm just placing it straight down and sealing the edges with a little bit of tissue and latex just to give it a nicer transition from prosthetic to skin. Repeat this over the whole of the prosthetic and on the other 2 or however many you make. I'm doing it for 3 different pieces, such as my forehead, my nose and my chin, as you just saw me sculpt, and once that is all complete we can get onto the paint job. Be careful working around your eyes because you don't want to get latex in your eyes and it can make your eyes water and irritate them. The less tissue you use, the better the transition from prosthetic to skin, so bear that in mind because the final result will show when you've painted it all rather than before, if that makes sense. Once that is all complete, glued down and dry, I'm then powdering all of the prosthetic pieces and the latex, and I'm taking 3 different greens: lime green, green and pale green. And starting off with the lime green, I'm painting my whole face, neck and chest with this colour and all of the prosthetics as well. This is going to work as my base foundation kind of colour, and this was the first time I tried anything like this with water activated face paints, so that was a fun experience, but I've got a couple tips which I gathered on the way which I will share with you. So here I'm using a beauty blender just to try and smooth it out and give it a more even colour, because water activated face paints tend to be kind of patchy, which we don't want. Obviously we want a solid overall colour, so keep working on it. Make sure your water activated paint in the palette goes creamy before you apply it. This will give you a better full coverage kind of look. Now taking that pale green, I'm then putting this on all the high points, such as under my eyes, down the middle of my nose prosthetic, under where my contour places would be, on my chin, on my new eyebrow pieces and on my forehead. So what I was worrying about when I was applying it is that it wasn't blending well. However, I forgot when you first apply it whilst it's wet, it's a different colour to how it dries, so I wasn't too sure if I was blending it properly or not, which I was. I was just worrying because there were so many different colours going on. You just need to work with it as it's drying. Then when I applied the darker contour colour, as you see here, I'm doing it around my forehead, under my jawline and on my cheekbones, and I will do it down the sides of my nose. I am tapping it and smudging it using the brush because it makes it easier to blend and transition together. I'm then coating my eyelids and under the new brow bones with that dark green as well, and around my chin just to give it some more definition. Now taking some eyeshadows in green, I am going to be using these on a fluffy brush to set the whole face. I'm using a medium tone green to match with all of the shades, and it won't off colour any of the work we've just put in. Then taking some darker greens eyeshadows on a fluffy brush and doing some light contouring, or in my case harsh contouring because I don't know the meaning of light contouring, and I'm really carving out my cheekbones and changing the structure of my face. Don't worry too much about the showing of prosthetic to skin, as you can see up at the top, because we will go back and fix that with some darker colours later on. Doing some light contouring on my jawline and down my nose, and then jumping in with a smaller brush and applying some black eyeshadow onto my eyes. So as you can see, I wanted to go for quite a dark eyed look, as it will progress into. So I'm starting off with a bit of black on the inner corner, then my camera did die. So all I've done here is put some more black into the contour colours. This will also help hide the transition from prosthetic skin, like at the top if it didn't look so nice. And putting this on my jawline and cheekbones, applied a black liquid lipstick and a bit of green eyeshadow on the insides, and black around my eyes with some drag down black towards my nose area, but it doesn't go the full way, if you know what I mean. Then adding a little bit of highlight just to kind of give myself some more definition and depth to the face, bringing out the high points, putting some highlight on my brows and down the centre of my nose and on my chin. Then I'm just wetting my hair a little bit and setting all of that with some setting spray. Make sure to paint your neck and chest and everything if you are going to be doing this makeup. And yeah, I will see you in 2 weeks for a new tutorial, and check all the links in the description. Goodbye.